Hi everybody, on this week's edition of This Weekend, we are going to be presenting a real special show called 10 Years Ago. We begin with a special video montage of my very first interview I've done way back in 2005, interviewing some of the teachers at Tri-Central and asking them, how has the year 1980 impacted you, the family, of the world? Those stories, along with this week's This Weekend in the News, can be seen on this week's edition of This Weekend with Jacob Pyle. See you in a minute.
And now coming to you live from our studios in Tipton, Indiana, it's This Weekend with Jacob Pyle for Saturday, February 7th, 2015. And now, here's the guy that makes every weekend a special one. Your host on This Weekend, Jacob Pyle.
Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of This Weekend. I'm Jacob Pyle, glad you could join us. This week's show is a special show called 10 Years Ago. I was inspired to do this special episode when I ran across this video cassette here of an interview project I had to do for my current events class back in 2005. And I made a video collage of those interviews for you to show. So if you're ready, here's the video I made called 10 Years Ago. 10 years ago, I had the thrill and the opportunity to do my very first interview project for my current events class. I was a real cute 7th grader at the time, by the way. What you are about to see was originally done in 2005. The question I had to ask was this.
What's the greatest impact that happened 25 years ago that was important to you, the family, or the world?
On September 1st.
Okay.
In that year.
Alright.
She's 25 years old now. She is the mother. And we have one granddaughter. And she's a very special person.
In 1980, the U.S. hockey team, it was called the Soviet Union hockey team, and everyone was jumping up and down and very, very happy about that. Also, more importantly, I think that was the time that the Iranian hostages were released in 1980, and the whole world rejoiced over that because they had been held captive for well over a year.
I would say Mount St. Helens erupting. That is one of the biggest volcanic eruptions in history, especially in the United States.
Everything affected my family more than the world. Because we live in a family, and the family is the most important thing in our life.
I met a man from Iran, and he was telling me that whenever you think of that, people my age, whenever you think of it, you think of all the people, the Iranian people in the streets were shouting whenever they let the hostages out. And this man told me he was there, and he said the people didn't want to cheer, they were trying to get to work, and the soldiers made them cheer because they said the cameras were coming, cheer that we took these hostages. And the fellow was there, and then he told me, he said that we are very lucky that we live in a country where we are free.
Do you know what a fax machine is?
Yeah, a fax machine is where it's like a phone, but except you don't talk to people. You just type down on a sheet of paper and send to that person.
Right.
Right. I would say the election of President Ronald Reagan. He believed to be one of our finest presidents in the United States, and he did a lot of great things for our country. Maybe at the beginning of that year, President Jimmy Carter, who was before Mr. Reagan, boycotted the Olympics. Didn't allow some of our people to go to the Olympics. That would be one thing.
I was just a baby, you might remember, but
happiest moment in our lives to have our first child.
And that's about all that I can remember.
What are you laughing for, Jacob?
I don't know. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Emery.
Well, you're very welcome, Jacob. I hope you helped you out.
So there you have it, 10 years ago. When I saw all those clips, those brought back a lot of memories for me in my middle school days. A little later in the show, we will have a special guest with us, who's going to be answering this question. How has the year 2014 impacted you or the world? Plus, we'll be getting an opinion on how technology has changed in the world as well. That's coming up later in the show, but after the break, we will have This Week in the News. That's coming up after this week's weather. Don't go away.
And now, here again is Jacob Pyle.
And now it's time for This Week in the News. First in the world of sports, the Super Bowl. New England's thrilling win over Seattle scored the highest ever overnight television ratings for a Super Bowl and also set conversation milestones for Twitter and Facebook. The Nielsen Company said Monday the game had a 49.7 rating in the nation's largest media markets, up 4% over last year's game. That means nearly half of the homes in those 56 metropolitan areas were watching the game. And finally, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC Director Tom Frieden, on Sunday warned that the U.S. could see a large outbreak of measles. We are very concerned by that growing number of people who are susceptible to measles, and the possibility that we could have a large outbreak in this country as a result, Frieden said on CBS's Face the Nation. There are at least 102 reported cases in 14 states, according to the CDC. Frieden said that the U.S. is likely to see more cases. Frieden said there is aggressive public health action to identify those with measles, isolate those sick, and quarantine those who have been exposed. But he said the best way to prevent the spread of measles was vaccination. Frieden said despite the U.S.'s 92% vaccination rate, there is growing evidence more parents are not vaccinating their children. What we've seen is, as over the last few years, a small but growing number of people have not been vaccinated. That number is building up among young adults in society, and that makes us vulnerable, he said. Frieden acknowledged that some parents are concerned about the safety of vaccines, or think measles no longer exists. 1 in 6 kids could have a fever 10 days after, but the vaccine is safe and effective. And for those parents that may think that measles is gone, it's still here, and it can be quite serious, he said. Frieden also appeared on ABC's This Week, urging parents to vaccinate their children. What you do for your own kids don't just affect your family. It affects other families as well, he said. The more kids who are not vaccinated, the more they're at risk, and the more they put their neighbors' kids at risk as well. We'll have more of This Week in the News next time, but coming up after the break, we'll have this week's Song of the Week. We'll be right back after this.
And now, here again is Jacob Pyle.
Welcome back, and now it's time for this week's Song of the Week. What you're about to hear is a song by Des'ree called You Gotta Be, and if you listen to the song lyrics carefully, this pretty much explains, it sort of relates to the 10 years ago video we watched, and how fast time really does fly, and how we can enjoy every moment, every passing day. Listen as your day unfolds, challenge what the future holds. Try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. Stand up and be counted. Don't be ashamed to cry. You gotta be bad. You gotta be bold. You gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard. You gotta be tough. You gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool. You gotta be calm. You gotta stay together. All I know is that love will save the day. Herald what your mother said. Read the books your father read. Try to solve the puzzles in your own sweet time. Some may have more cash than you. Others take a different view. My, oh my, yeah, yeah, yeah. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is that love will save the day. Time asks no questions, it goes on without you, leaving you behind if you can't stand the pace. The world keeps on spinning, stop it if you try to. The best part is danger, staring you in the face. Listen as your day unfolds, challenge what the future holds. Try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead and release your fears. My, oh my, hey. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is that love will save the day. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is that love will save the day. Got to be bold, got to be bad, got to be wise, do what others say. Got to be hard, not too hard. All I know is that love will save the day. Yeah. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
After the break, Jacob Pyle has this week's final thought. Don't go away. And now, here again is Jacob Pyle.
And now it's time for this week's final thought. After reflecting back through all those interviews, it made me realize how fast 10 years have gone by. You know, everybody gets older, our voices have grown deeper, and more importantly, everybody gets a little wiser. We all look back at our school days and realize that at the time we were just young kids. You've seen how much the teachers have changed according to the interviews. Heck, even I've changed a lot compared to what you've seen. I couldn't be more grateful and thankful to those first tape interviews has what got me started in what I'm doing today. And it also made me realize too that people do care for me. You can't expect life to change in an instant. We have to realize that. You just gotta live life day by day. Don't worry about what the future holds, just worry about what's going to happen today. And as I learned in church and in youth ministry, we are never promised a tomorrow either. Live every day as if it were your last. Trust me, you'll be so grateful for it later on. Now, before we go, I'd like to thank the people you've seen in the interviews, all the teachers, for making it possible. And I would also like to thank publicly Jake King, without whom would not have been able to make it possible. And with that, that'll be it for this week. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jacob Pyle, and until next week from all of us here at This Weekend, good night, and God bless my friends.
This is Trent Byers speaking for This Weekend. This program has been pre-recorded.